Thanks to 2020 being the year the wheel stayed indoors, racing esports boomed in popularity, being the only sport you can realistically replicate in the comfort of your own home. Because let's face it, as great as FIFA games look, there's not a lot in common between footwork on the pitch and fun work on the controller. With real drivers unable to race and turning to their sim rigs, it meant for the first time, SimRacers could see how they fared against their idols. Even we shared a few race sessions with some F1 drivers. In this video, we're counting down the top 10 racing titles that have inspired young racers and acted as stepping stones to esports and, for a lucky few, real race drives. Super Monaco Grand Prix. Yes, we know we have a little nostalgic crush on it, but back in 1989, it was one of the first titles to offer a semi-sim racing experience. Your performance on the track would lead to promotions and demotions from team to team. And in the sequel, you had Senna coaching you over the radio. And like iRacing, you only had a cockpit view. To top it off, just look at that arcade cabinet. If only we could fit it in our race room. Whilst Virgo Racing was a somewhat successor to Super Monaco GP, what it gave with one hand, it took it away with the other. In was the polygonal 3D graphics, various views and a fully animated pit crew, but gone was the in-depth championship and rival mechanic of its predecessor. What we did love, however, was seeing 4 of these side by side in the arcades. And thanks to Sega and Nintendo, Virgo Racing is back for the Nintendo Switch with online multiplayer. The last Sega entry on this list, Daytona USA. Now, we're very aware that this is a purely arcade title and never made a serious attempt to be a sim racing one. But I dare say that every sim racer out there has nostalgic memories of it, either on the Saturn, one of its ports on other home consoles, or the eSport arena-like arcades where up to 8 systems could be linked together. Arguably the first eSport experience in that respect. Out of all the Ridge Racers, we chose Type 4, the first in a series to bring in the concepts of teams, manufacturers, and a rudimentary story mode for each of the 4 teams you can choose from. Unlike every other race title on this list, Ridge Racer has never used real-world cars. So, after each season of races, the team truck would pull up, open its doors, and you just had no idea what was coming off the ramp. It was an excitement you don't get these days when you know what cars are in the game. Number 6, Toca Race Driver 2, a simulator with a wonderful blend of story-driven cutscenes and realistic physics, but also late enough in the timeline to have a pretty active online player base. Toca 2's online mode also had a rating system 4 years before iRacing would even be released, with drivers starting at 1,000 points and the very best in the world rated around the 2,000 mark. If only the online system had had a season structure. We've drifted away from serious sims for a moment, back to a more arcade racer. Need for Speed had lost its edge for a while with repetitive titles, and even one where you couldn't drive anything but a Porsche. Underground was loved for its catchy music, but more importantly the staggering amount of car customization available, as well as the online multiplayer element. For many, this game would be the genesis of their love of GT-style body kits, wide wheel arches and livery designs. Number 4. If you're a sim racer and you tell us you've never played a Mario Kart title, we won't believe you. Thankfully, the Nintendo Wii came out of the box with free online connectivity, and because Mario Kart Wii was often a pack-in title, it meant for a time it was likely the world's most popular online racing game. It also had a rating system 4 months before iRacing. Even today, Mario Kart Wii has a dedicated online and speedrunner base, setting lap times that would have been unimaginable in the game's heyday. Nothing else came closer to realism in its day than Jeff Crammond's Grand Prix titles for Atari, Amiga, and then Windows PC. It did little to be entertaining in a gamer aspect. No commentary, no cutscenes, just the most realistic racing experience at the time. It always had the better graphics, the more in-depth car setups, and more realistic physics than the F1 titles produced by Electronic Arts. Admittedly, its AI could be a little strange, but we still yearn for Grand Prix 5. GTR 2 did for GT racing what the Grand Prix series did for F1. Released in late 2006, it's arguably considered the first true esports simulator title, a precursor to the likes of iRacing, Assetto Corsa and R-Factor 2. Where other racing titles could pit you against 5, 11 or maybe 15 other drivers, GTR 2 could place you in a grid with 27 other drivers from around the world. And being solely on the PC, there's a good chance they'd all be using steering wheels. We're sorry if our number 1 was a bit predictable, but you can't deny the effect Gran Turismo has had on young petrol heads as we've grown through the 90s, noughties and teens. Driving realistic virtual depictions of real world cars we aspire to own, progressing from club racing up to full-on 24-hour endurance races in GT3 cars. As the years went by, Gran Turismo's wow factor of realism and graphics may have started being outshone by other race titles, but Gran Turismo Sport, released in 2017, brought eSport racing to the masses. Yes, its physics weren't the most realistic, hamstrung by a necessity to work for wheels and the PlayStation controller. Yes, the damage model was a little weak compared to Project Cards or Forza, and yes, the penalty system was outright broken at times. It has introduced people to motorsport in a serious manner in numbers no other simulator has, acting as a stepping stone for more serious sim racing and even real world racing, as is the case with Jimmy Broadbent. Were there any racing titles you think should have been on this list? Let us know in the comment section.